Okay, here we go. I'm just going to share out the stream real quick. And we're going to get right into this because I don't want the stream to die on me again. Share, copy link. We are live. Okay. All right. So, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your host with the most, Avery LR32 here, and destroy the ever-living boo-boo stain off that like and subscribe button. This is doubling up as both a live stream, but also it is doubling up as a way that I can maybe show my face off if this wants to cooperate with me. That should work a little bit better. This is also going to be a video that I just want to post because I need content. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh is really dead in the water right now. So I was going to talk about the Megatins, but then I figured everybody and their mama likes to do reaction videos. I want to get in on the reaction of the reactions of the reactions and react to Joshua Schmidt. How much should a one-card combo do? And depending on how much traction we get during the stream, maybe we'll react to some other videos as well. But for now, it's going to be this one. Be sure to drop a like on the stream, leave a comment, let me know that you're here. And hopefully y'all will be able to hear this. If you can't, then let me know. But let's go ahead and start from the beginning and watch this man with a beard and a non-receding hairline talk about one-card combos, because one-card combos have really gotten out of hand.
It's a topic that's been discussed a lot in recent years. It just feels like there's a general direction in Yu-Gi-Oh towards more one-card combos, right? My stance...
Hopefully you guys can hear this okay. The audio is kind of going in and out for me. So if you have any issues with the audio, please let me know.
It used to be like powerful one-card combos just shouldn't be a thing. That doesn't feel like a modern sort of opinion anymore at this point, because it's impossible to ignore the existence of one-card combos or to like hope on the fact that one-card combos are never going to be a thing again. At this point in time, even though...
Yeah, okay. Okay. Whew. I thought I just ended my stream there. So, in regards to what he's already just said, yeah, one-card combos are never going away. I mean, that's just what Yu-Gi-Oh is now. If you want decks to be 2-card or 3-card combos, that's really not ever going to be a thing. The most that we are going to get, I think, when it comes to this, is that we're going to get 1.5 card combos, which even then, White Force is basically a 1-card combo deck because you just need, say, like a Stellar plus a Speller Trap to discard. So, yeah, that's just kind of what Yu-Gi-Oh has become now.
Rogue decks are doing like one-card combos, right? When I'm thinking OG one-card combos, can anyone think of an older or more OG one-card combo than like Alistair? Oh yeah, Zodiacs is a good point. It never felt like those kind of cards were ruining the game. I mean, Zodiac was...
So, it depends on the deck. I mean, he's about to mention Zodiac, but one-card combos generally aren't healthy for the game no matter what the deck is. I think it really doesn't matter what deck you take. One-card combos just aren't a good thing in the game. Hopefully y'all are hearing the audio okay. If there's any issues with the audio, let me know. Hey Avery, how you doing? Can you turn the volume up a little? Yeah, I can definitely turn the volume up. Okay, let me know if that audio is a little bit better.
Was a dominant deck, but it was still a good format. Alistair never completely took over. So I feel like there is a window of opportunity in design space where you can make these cards, you can make one-card combos, but they don't feel overly oppressive. Maybe there's a line at which one-card combos are fine to exist, at which they don't ruin the game or they don't feel like they're ruining the game. I just want to maybe talk about where that line is, right? Because I definitely draw the line somewhere before Snake Eye Ash. No matter...
I draw the line far before Snake Eye Ash and even before Zodiac. I mean, Konami could always take the route of having 1-card combos just not be a thing and just focus on decks being 2-card combos. Because I'm sure what he's going to mention, I haven't watched this entire video yet, obviously. But I'm sure he's going to mention how the Azamina cards completely just make Snake Eyes even crazier in the OCG, even with like the limits on Ash and stuff like that.
Where the line is, Snake Eye Ash is past that line. I feel like we passed the line for me personally.
Is the audio being messed up for y'all too? Or is it just messing up for me? Or is it just messing up for me?
Past that line. I feel like we passed the line for me personally.
Okay. That was very weird. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. My audio is acting up there.
Line is Snake Eye. Maybe talk about where that line is, right? Because I definitely draw the line somewhere before Snake Eye Ash. No matter where the line is, Snake Eye Ash is past that line. I feel like we passed the line for me personally with Lokai and Circular, which has become a complete meme at this point, but I want to keep it like a more serious discussion. That's for me personally where it kind of passed the line. Those were the kind of ones where I felt like it was frustrating that if my opponent started with that one card, they did too much. And of course, Circular looks completely tame in comparison to something like Snake Eye Ash these days. I understand that, but
I would disagree. I would say that Snake Eye Ash is still not Snake Eye Ash. Mathmech Circular is absolutely an insane card. I mean, there's a reason why it was banned. I mean, hell, I remember screwing around, and I even did a deck profile on it. I screwed around with this stupid stun deck that was basically it wasn't even a stun deck, it was a stall deck where it played a Mathmech engine, and your goal was to sit on stuff like Lost Wind, Super Poly, and a Final Sigma in the extra monster zone that just basically couldn't be killed, and you use Circular to get you to that. Circular was nuts, which is funny coming from Joshua Schmidt considering he absolutely despised Mathmech Circular.
Like, for me personally, even what Mathmech does, the fact that this deck just either sets up what it sets up or kills me with one card, I think that's past the line. Marincess, I think, is a good example for this. One of the main selling points of playing Marincess, first of all, your deck is relatively consistent because if you can play a lot of one-card starters, you don't need to draw crazy combinations of cards. All you need to do is see one of your starters, right? And it also didn't require you to build your deck in such a way that you would plan to see like 3 or 4 engine cards, right? You can easily afford to draw 3 hand traps in a deck like Marincess. Why does it feel fine to play against Marincess, but it doesn't feel fine to play against Snake Eye in that regard? Like, what's...
Because Marincess is garbage. Because not every deck is supported equally in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I said this a couple years back where I forget the person's YouTube name, and now like they're not even on YouTube anymore because they got into some sort of scandal, right? But not every deck is created equally in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I said it in that same video years ago where like this Yu-Gi tuber was like making this crazy ban list where they were banning Flunder, banning Eldritch, banning all this stuff. And I was like, look, not every Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck is made evenly. And so to be like, where do you draw the line? It's because Marincess is just garbage when you compare it to Snake Eye. Most decks are garbage when you compare it to Snake Eye. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
What's the difference? I think it's relatively easy, at least for me. The difference is that one Marincess card does not win the game on its own, right? It's the power level, right? It's the ceiling of that one card.
Okay, I'm an idiot. He just mentioned the same thing. I'm sorry. Like I said, I haven't watched this video, but he makes the point. It stands. Marincess is booty butt cheeks.
I don't even know what one blue tang ends on these days, but it used to be something like search one of the Marincess trap cards, and you could also maybe set up Argonaut or Bubble Reef. Could one card make Argonaut plus trap? I'm not even sure if it could. Either way, I don't think for me personally Marincess is the line. I think you could go a little bit more powerful than Marincess.
Sorry guys, I don't have YouTube Premium. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're just gonna mute that ad. We're gonna go back to this, Okay, sorry about that.
Is the line. I think you could go a little bit more powerful than Marincess. My favorite, more modern example, Melodious. Pure Melodious, that is. And I want to emphasize Pure Melodious because I still think that Ostinato is not a very well-designed card because it's lacking a restriction. The Marincess Pure deck obviously still has those restrictions because it has cards like First Movement Solo that lock you anyways, right? The Melodious...
We do not call first movement solo here. I refuse to call that card that card's name. It is called first bowel movement solo. Just saying.
This deck for me was a good example because that deck had like room for like 15 non-engine or something, and it's relatively self-contained. That's another thing. I am a big fan when one card combos lock you into your own archetype or your typing or whatever. This is not a guarantee that it's fair though. I just want to say that it still depends on the context of what you're locked into. And
that's very true. You know, the biggest reason why OSS needs to be banned is the fact that you can play these Snake Eye cards and they don't lock you in anything. Like, OSS doesn't lock you into only fires. You know, even the new Evil Hero cards that I just covered on the channel, those cards lock you into only summoning hero monsters. But that's not a drawback because you're going to be playing it in a strictly hero deck, right? So it depends on what you lock these decks into. We definitely need more of that. We shouldn't have these generic engines that are just so good that they can just be tossed into anything, because that's how you end up with good 60-card pile decks. Not that pile decks can't be healthy, but it depends on what those decks are able to do when you throw all these piles together. You know, are you able to create a 5-6 card monster board of just multiple negates? Like that's not healthy card design.
What kind of options that leaves you with? Being locked into plants is cool and all, but if you have all the interrupts in the world available in the plant cards, then why does it matter? If you're locked into gimmick puppets but you still have all the tools to FTK, then why does the lock matter? I don't think that's the best argument, but it is part. Restrictions are healthy, right? Like in the case of Marincess, for example, the restrictions are very well done. Because if you're locked into water, you're kind of limited to what you can end on. With good hands, you have the option to like code. With some other hands, you have the option to go for like a Zelantis board wipe. But for the most part, I feel like in Marincess, you have a healthy lock. And the same is true, in my opinion, for Melodious. Because when you're locked in Melodious, you have still powerful options, but you lose a lot of crazy things you could otherwise do, right? Like you're limited to basically ending on Etoile, Huberta, and like Aria for protection. Those are the only things that really do anything on your opponent's turn when you're playing Melodious. Everything else doesn't really provide anything, right? And so...
And that's really what most decks should be doing. You shouldn't be able to have, even how some decks can have multiple one-card combos. It should be like, if you're going to have a one-card combo, it shouldn't be where like, oh, it gets stopped. You still have these other one-card combos that still end on the same thing. Like, decks can be consistent, but you eventually hit a point where it's just far too consistent to where even hand traps are just pointless. Hence what we're seeing in this format. Some decks are playing board breakers compared to hand traps because hand traps honestly aren't even doing enough, which is weird to think because cards like Shifter need to be banned and a lot of people want Ash to be hit. And I kind of want to go into the camp that Ash needs to be hit, but the devil's advocate is that hand traps are part of the game now, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
I think those are good examples of something that, you know, works. Another good example that people have mentioned in chat that I absolutely agree with is Centurion if Calamity is banned, right? And we have that in Master Duel at the moment, and it's a 100% fine deck to exist. Honestly, fun to play against, because if my opponent normal summons a Primera in Master Duel, even if I have no interaction in my hand, their deck has Grind Game, their deck has an Omni Negate, but their deck will not lock me out of the game. Their deck will not overload me on interaction. It's a completely normal game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think that's...
It's not a completely normal game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you're playing Master Shits, which is a best of one. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not a normal game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't even side deck. So let's just make that known to the court of public opinion. I'm just saying.
Roughly where my personal line is, right? My personal line is something around Centurion, without Calamity. I think Voiceless is a little bit better than Centurion in that regard. Like what one low does. Is it more powerful? It's pretty similar, right? It's an Omni Negate with follow-up, but like slightly better, because I feel like Voiceless plays through hand traps better, but that's another thing. I think that...
So the issue here, though, is that if you make every deck equivalent to Centurion doing their one-card combos without King Calamity, you end up essentially in a format that all it takes is just a little bit of advantage, or maybe one hand trap, maybe two, like Ash Imperm, to like make the opponent end their turn, and maybe they end on Little Knight. And it just takes Konami to crap out one card archetype that's better than Centurion without King Calamity, and you're back where you started. Like, I think that the era for one card combos, the most you should ever have, like I said at the beginning of this video, is White Forest, where you have the one monster that does all the things, but then you have to have a discard.
That's roughly where my line is. If Voiceless is over the line, then not much. They both end on an Omni, so that's bad. I agree, Omnis are not the best form of interaction. At the same time, you do have to put it into context. If the Omni is quote-unquote the only thing they do, like in the case of Centurion and Master Duel, it's like, okay. But if your deck spams Apo, Flamberge, Prometheus...
It's Pod's biggest...
Again, y'all, I'm sorry about the ads. Joshua Schmidt's got to make that ad revenue. I don't knock them for the hustle.
Omni is quote-unquote the only thing they do. Like in the case of Centurion and Master Duel, it's like, okay. But if your deck spams Apo, Flamberge, Promethean Engrave, plus an Omni, that's more problematic. I think it's fair to give these decks some context. I personally don't believe one-card combos should not exist at all. And I am basing that off of the fact that I don't hate Centurion. I don't...
Ideally, one-card combos shouldn't exist, though. Also, thank y'all for the likes. I see y'all joining the stream. I really appreciate it. One-card combos should not exist in the game. And the fact that power creep has hit a point where there are multiple decks that can do one-card combos is insane. Think about Centurion. If you open up Tenpai Dragon Pydra and nothing else, you win the ball game, because that's going to get you to either Sengen Summoning or Sengen Kaimen, whichever you need or prefer. That's going to get you to Chundra, and then you're going to win the fucking ball game. So, like, there's no reason why that should even exist. Like, if there was a 2-card combo for Tenpai where, like, you needed, say, Chundra plus any other dragon, I think that makes the game overall more balanced. Like, Centurion being a 1-card combo deck is fine. Like, I get what he's saying with the context. Like, the most it can do without King Calamity is crap out an Omni Negate. But that doesn't mean one-card combos should exist. I would argue that one-card combos should not exist. Or, if you're going to go that route, you make it like White Forest. You know, a monster plus a discard. Because at least then they're having to give up something as a cost. And, like, they can get more hit by hand traps. Like, the ideal number of hand traps, my buddy was telling me this, and honestly, I agree. The most amount of hand traps you should ever need to run in your deck should be 12, bar none. Like, anything more than 12, and I think you start hitting that deck building issue of no deck is even a deck anymore. It's just 15 to 20 hand traps, and then maybe some archetype cards. Like, that's not healthy, Yu-Gi-Oh! Because then you end up in a format like now, where it's like, okay, did you open up enough hand traps to stop me, Sugar Boo Bear? No. You're playing board busters? Did you open up enough board breakers? Oh, I've got the 2 negates for your 2 board breakers or whatever. I guess you just crap your pants and we go to game 2. Like, that's not a healthy fucking format.
Don't hate Marincess. I don't hate Voiceless. I don't hate Melodious.
Oh, did I just lose sound? Hello.
Voiceless. I don't hate Melodious. Those are all decks that I think are completely fine to exist. And to me, that means one-card combos have a space in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I find them acceptable. Unless it's circular. Disagree. See, you're always making fun of me for that, as if that's unreasonable. I think there's a difference between my opponent normal summoning Primera in Master Duel and my opponent using circular in Master Duel. Let's say
Master Shits is not a good comparison. Again, I want to point that out. That's comparing Kai Judo to Magic the Gathering. Just saying.
My opponent hand traps me and I have to pass. Chimera does not kill me. Circular, you're dead. When I go second in Master Duel, my opponent normal summons Chimera. That's 1 Omni Negate. 1. My opponent activates Circular. I don't even know what the current standard is, but it's a super factorial for Hand Rip, Send from Field, Omni Negate, Terahertz for a Spell Trap Negate, Heat Soul to draw 2 cards. It's not the same. This whole meme...
No, it's not the same, but... I mean, Circular is banned for a reason. I'm nothing really to add here. I get what he's getting at, but 1-card combos still should just not be a thing.
That we're riding for a year or 2 now, it does come from my genuine concern with 1-card combos that I felt like got out of hand around that time. As funny as you might think you are when you say like, oh, you criticize MathMech, but you think Primera is okay, I want to emphasize I do think there's a difference. I think it's important that 1-card combos can be stopped and interacted with if you draw certain hand traps. I think that's...
See, if you draw certain hand traps, but then you end up in a format like we're in now with Snake Eyes, where you, honestly, you got to open up 4 or 5 hand traps, especially with the Fiendsmith cards. And maybe he mentions that here in the video. But with the way that Snake Eyes is now, you got to open up 4 or 5 hand traps if you actually want to win. Like when I got 10th place with Tenpai, we didn't have the Fiendsmith cards and everything. We just had regular Snake Eyes. And it was easy to beat Snake Eyes if you did open the hand traps because they didn't have all that extra gas in the form of the Fiendsmith cards and in Rage of the Abyss, the Azamino cards. You know, you would basically just stop anything that wasn't named Wanted, Seeker of Simple Spoils with a hand trap. You know, they do Wanted and Draw Phase. Okay, cool. Let it go through. Diabell Star, Imperm, OSS, Ash. Maybe they end on Little Knight if they don't have the Ash, and then they just pass turn. So, anyway.
That's another issue with specifically Snake Eye. Makes it frustrating to play against is because the deck has pretty much no clear choke points. Because every single point where you interact with them, they can just replace it by drawing any of their extenders. This is problematic because it's basically also making those decks unstoppable. And my take is that 1-card combos should be relatively easy to stop because those decks have a lot of room for non-engine. When you play against those decks or when you play one of those decks, I think what you should sign up for is if you get stopped, you have to stop them with your non-engine and try again next turn. I don't think it's reasonable that you have to stop.
Oh, I want to see what the person said in his chat. A 1-card combo should be the weakest option. I don't know.
Them with your non-engine and try again.
1-card combo simplifies the game, makes room for hand traps which are annoying, but certainly better than oppressive boards with multiple negates. Also, every deck in that way has key cards which, if stopped, probably result in an advantage for the opponent. So basically he's saying that I don't know how 1-card combos simplify the game. I see what this person's saying. So they're saying that 1-card combos simplify the game because it makes room for hand traps. But see, even with that, though, if 1-card combos simplify the game, which gives you more room for hand traps, again, your deck should not be playing more than like 12 fucking hand traps tops, bro. If you got to go above 12 hand traps, like, I almost think you should just play board busters at that point. Like... yes, Tenpai has room for like 20 hand traps, but that's not a healthy deck. Like, that's not a good situation to have, right?
Next turn. I don't think it's reasonable that you can just ignore their hand traps, keep playing, and then just back up your board with hand traps. Is Branded Fusion okay? I think Branded Fusion is hard to compare this to. It's a little different in some aspect. I wouldn't say...
I mean, a 1-card combo is a 1-card combo. I don't really think Branded Fusion's that far from it. Now, granted, with Branded Fusion, you can Ash it. But if you don't have the Ash, then, like, what are you doing? And no one's playing Ghost Bell. So, like, you can't Ghost Bell the Albion. Like, the last time I played Ghost Bell was when I was playing purely Sprite down south. I forget where it was in Florida, but it was down south. And I even did a deck profile on it where I played purely Sprite. And I remember the guy dumped Gimmick Puppet with Albion and then went to go use its effect in my draw phase and I used Ghost Spell. So I remember, I think I even opened up Ash. So like he did a bunch of plays. And then he went Branded Fusion, I went Ash. But yet he had a bunch of other engine and gas. to where he played Branded Fusion later in his combo, but he still built an insane board. So it's like, if decks can play through your hand traps and they have a 1-card combo, it's like, what's the point of the hand traps? And then you end up with people like wanting to play 20 plus, and it's just not good juju.
Say Branded Fusion is okay, but for other reasons. I don't hate Branded. I just hate how so much of that deck is condensed in that one.
This person in his chat said if Fountain is okay, Branded Fusion is okay. Bro, that's not comparable. That's not comparable at all, Sugar Boo Bear. No. You coping.
Branded, I just hate how so much of that deck is condensed in that one card.
This person makes a good point in his chat. An extender should allow you to keep going, but there should be repercussion for having your combo stopped. That's a very good point. I mean, how many decks now? That's the other thing with 1-card combos. How many decks right now in the game, or hell, even in the past, have 1-card combos that by summon number 5, they're hitting you with an Apollosa or maybe an SP Little Knight to like kind of dodge Nib. Like, here's the thing: if you want to have a 1-card combo, that's fine, but you need to be able to be susceptible to Nibiru. Like, having these decks that can just be ignorant to something like Nib, I think is just ridiculous.
Choke points are good, but I don't believe that they should make you build a deck around 1 card, and then if that 1 card gets stopped, your deck basically does nothing unless you have a super specific combination of cards to still play. You played Branded yesterday and you still feel like that? No, I like Branded, especially if they banned Albion. I think Branded is cool, and I think Branded is not easily compared.
Albion needs to go in the dumpster, like, for real.
If they banned Albion, I think Branded is cool, and I think Branded is not easily comparable to decks like Snake Eye, Centurion, Marincess. I think they're different because
they are different because Snake Eyes is tier 0, Branded is a gimmick puppet lock gimmick. Like, that's the only thing it has going for it, whether you're playing a 40-card build, 50, or a 60-card build. Like, it's just gimmick puppet the deck.
You can say whatever you want about Branded. At least Branded cannot ignore your hand traps, right? If Branded gets hand trapped on Branded Fusion, like Ashed or something, that deck has to significantly change how it plays. And its game plan in the TCG at the moment, at least to my understanding, is like, if I get Ashed...
Hold on, this person in his chat said Branded design is better than Centurion design. The fuck? No, so... Branded is actually designed better than Centurion if you're taking into account King Calamity, right? Like, if King Calamity is not legal, then Centurion is definitely the better designed deck. And, like, this person is just incorrect. And honestly, I think that, like, just saying Branded design is better, they kind of both do the same thing. They just lock you out of the game. Branded craps out at gimmick puppet cards. That's a hot take.
Its game plan in the TCG at the moment, at least to my understanding, is like, if I get Ashed...
Why do I keep losing audio? Sorry about that. I have to keep rewinding because I keep losing audio.
And its game plan in the TCG at the moment, at least to my understanding, is like, if I get Ashed on Branded Fusion, I try my hardest to somehow piece together a puppet lock to not get killed. Which it can, you know, there are ways to play around Ash with Branded, I'm aware, but it's not as easy and not trivial. There's no 1-card combo to play around Ash, right? So in some ways, I think it's okay that Branded Fusion is such a big choke point. It feels bad when you play against Branded and you don't have Ash and the deck feels like unstoppable, right? That's also not a great feeling. Yeah. But it is good that there is counterplay to that card. Does that mean Meow Meow Mew can come back? In today's environment, it could probably come back. Yeah, and this is another thing with card design that you need to be aware of. Sometimes the cards are just ahead of their time. I think if Prank Hits came out now with Meow Mew, people would not complain about it. I definitely think they have crossed the line with some 1-card combos like Nightmare Throne, Snake Eye Ash. They need to be careful, basically, with the 1-card combos that they give us, I think. What about Ponix? I mean, Fire King is fine, disregarding the Snake Eye cards in it. Vakaushi, yeah, see, this is the weird part. The confusing part about the TCG for me at the moment is like Vakaushi, they hit pretty much immediately because it feels like they realized we didn't like this. Like, this was something that came out and got slaughtered 2 weeks later, which everyone liked. I think the difference between Vakaushi and Snake Eyes is that Vakaushi was not part of the year or two long lore archetype that OCG has decided to make incredibly powerful. Vakaushi was
That's true. I mean, the fact that Konami is basing so much of Snake Eyes on this lore BS is just insane. You know, we've almost had Snake Eyes for a year. And Snake Eyes has won the most number of YCSs in a row. If you count the team YCSs. Like, I remember when I was at my hotel in YCS Indy, and my buddy, shout out again to, as always, to Big Bruce 94, he and I were talking about Snake Eyes and how many YCSs they had won. And at the time, they had won the 2 team YCSs, and leading into Indy, they had won a total of like 6. But if you take out the team YCSs, it was 4. So if you include the team YCSs plus YCS Indy, they've won like what now, 7 YCSs, and they're probably going to win the YCS this upcoming weekend in like San Mateo or whatever. So that's like 8 or 9 YCSs that they've won at this point. They've almost hit the double digits, and they haven't been hit yet. Obviously, they're going to be hit by the end of this month. But I think that that's the other thing too. I think that what we're going to be seeing on this ban list, we're not going to see like Dia Bellstar the Black Witch get hit, and possibly not even Wanted get hit. And this was going to be the video I was going to make today, but instead I wanted to react to this video. I thought it'd be, kind of fun to do. But Wanted is in the tins, right? Like Konami just revealed that earlier today. And I'm thinking that if Wanted Seeker Sinful Spoils is in the tins, and they're already putting Dia Bellstar the Black Witch in Quarter Century Bonanza, then they're not going to hit Dia Bellstar the Black Witch herself, which is fine. Dia Bellstar the Black Witch and Wanted, I think, are fine cards. Should Wanted go to 1? Sure. But the issue with Dia Bellstar is not Dia Bellstar, it's the Snake Eye cards. So they need to be focusing on hitting things like Ash Poplar, Oak, Flamberge, whatever, OSS even, and they can leave Dia Bellstar alone. Like, that's not an issue, right?
Legacy support one-time thing that came out, right? I think that's why Wakaushi was handled this way and Snake Eyes is handled in another way. And that's kind of sad, because with Wakaushi, we realized the good thing for the game was to not let this happen, but for Snake Eyes, we're not doing that for other reasons. Thinking about the fact that Tier and Cash were also main lore, yeah, they've been meta for a long time because of it, right? Can we agree banning around sales instead of balance is bad for the game? I mean, yes, we agree, but unfortunately the reality we live in is that both things are an important factor for them. Selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards is a business. I think it's unrealistic to be like they should only do it from a game balance perspective, which is off.
I mean, ideally, you want them to do it from a game balancing perspective, but they never will. I mean, look at the March 2012 ban list. Although, granted, with the March 2012 list, our lists were still combined between TCG and OCG, but windups and all that were still kind of new. The issue, though, was that they were hand looping you for 5, and if they had pot of average, they were looping you for 6. I would know. I did that shit all the time back in the day.
Where we as the community, we're coming from that standpoint, we're like, just do what's best for the balance of the game, right? But sometimes you gotta accept that, well, I mean, they do want to sell those cards that they've designed. More fun equals more money. Theoretically, in the long run, I would agree with you. I always favor the balance of the game over short-term selling an archetype or something. On the other hand, they have managed...
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody would be all down for, balance of the game over sales.
To keep this game around for 20 plus years, right? Which a lot of other trading card games have not managed to do. So they are doing something right. Just look at what happened to Runeterra to understand. See, that's the other thing. Yeah, I actually played Runeterra. I loved Runeterra. They did a lot of things for the balance of the game and for the players and all that kind of stuff. And they made it very cheap and affordable to play. And the game died because of that, because they didn't make enough money, right? There needs to be a balance between the two things. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is more on the side of they're making too many decisions based on business, and they could do a little bit more for the health of the game. Those were just some things
So, I mean, he's just going to be doing a little outro here. There's nothing else to really react to. But I have been playing this game competitively for 16 years. I know Josh has been playing for like 20. But the thing is that the ban list has always been to push new cards. I mean, you can look back even to like the Synchro era and Xyz era and all that other fun jazz. And it's been to push sales. I think that Josh is definitely right when it comes to one-card combos, although ideally it would be really nice if one-card combos just didn't exist, or if the one-card combo was something to the equivalent of White Forest, where you've got to see that other discard card, especially with White Forest, it has to specifically be a spell or trap. If you open up 5 monsters, you're kind of just crapping all over the floor. I think that definitely makes it a lot more balanced, where it's just summoning Snake Eye Ash gets your combo going. Like, no, absolutely not. And I'm hoping that Konami of the TCG takes a page out of the OCG's book and doesn't just say, hey, we're going to limit these cards and not actually kill the deck, because then you just end up in a terrible situation. So I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that Konami is going to hopefully want to sell more product, because they got to support the Diabellstar stuff with the Azamita cards, and that's fine, but not the Snake Eyes stuff out. I do think, though, that if they don't put Triple Tactics Talent in the Mega Tins because Thrust is in the Tins, I'm thinking that Talents might finally get hit. Not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, that's something to keep in mind. So if you're watching this after it's already been recorded and posted on YouTube, let me know what you think down in the comments. There's actually something else that I want to do before I end this stream, since the stream is still going strong. I'm going to pull up a tier list here. And we are going to have some fun with a ban list. Here we go. Ooh, this is a good one. That was a first try. Wait. Let's go into presentation mode. And we will pop this up on over here. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that this will work. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. Let's, while we're on the topic, I can finally take these headphones out. While we're on the topic of ban list discussions, let's go ahead and talk about the ban list as well. Let's delete this. So yeah, okay. So I think we'll end this stream off by talking about things that need to be hit on the list or that could come back. Because I think we need to talk about this now that we've just talked about one card combos. So starting off, Shifter needs to be banned. There's nothing to explain with this here. Shifter needs to absolutely be banned. King Calamity needs to go as well. It just ends the game. Albion needs to go as well. Being able to get to Gimmick Puppet is the biggest issue that Branded has, like we just talked about in that reaction video. Banning Gimmick Puppet doesn't do anything. Let's see. Skill Drain. Even the meta decks can play Skill Drain now. If you don't ban Skill Drain, I think that it's just going to continue to be an issue. Limiting it really doesn't do much of anything. It's still kind of playable, I would argue. I think we just need to take Skill Drain back out of the game. Let's see. Let's kind of jump around here. Plush Fire can be free. It's not going to do anything. It's got that errata. Beatrice, of course, needs to be banned. If you've been playing at all this format, you know that the card's good. So you limit Gimmick Puppet. You do this because by limiting Gimmick Puppet, shout out to all y'all just joining the stream and hitting that like button. I really do appreciate it. We're talking about ban list things and what needs to be happening. But you put Gimmick Puppet to 1, the strings thing, and then they can't FTK you anymore. So that's going to most likely be what they do. Sharvara can stay at 1. You don't need to be supporting Yubel. Gimmick Puppet can stay because you're banning Albion, so this really isn't an issue. Branded Fusion, I feel like, even though I'd like to see it at 2 or 1, I think it's just going to stay at 3 because Branded's not the biggest deal in the world, even though we were just talking about how one-card combos can be kind of, well, actually really toxic. And I do feel that Branded Fusion is comparable, but I don't think that Branded is really going to get hit at all. Thunder Dragon Colossus might move to 2 or to 3 because it hasn't done a whole lot. Same thing with, is Protoss on this tier list that someone made? No. But same goes for Protoss. I mean, they're both kind of tied to the hip. I don't know why Aromaseraphy whatever is on here. This doesn't matter. Little Knight's going to stay at 3. It's not an issue. Sang and Summoning needs to go to fucking 1. This is absolutely a crazy toxic card. As much as I want to see Wanted go to 1, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Bonfire is going to go to 2. I think Bonfire is going to stay at 1. I feel like Floodgates are going to stay at 1, even though I would love to see these all get banned. I think that Konami is going to keep them at 1 just to kind of keep an eye on them. I think the Dragon Rulers are coming back to 3, like for real. I think they're going to come back to 3. Fenrir's fine. I haven't really seen a whole lot of talk of people wanting to ban Fenrir. Prosperity needs to go to 1. Making decks so consistent is just, it's really insane. Like the master shits, and I think even in the OCG they have it at 1. Like let's go ahead and get rid of Prosperity. Let's see. So talents, like I said, if talents. So here's the thing with talents. If it's not in the 25th anniversary tins with Thrust, I think we could possibly see talents get hit, just because it's such a generically good card at this point. I think talents might go. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but I think it's going to go. I would really like to see OSS banned. Granted, I would also like to see Snake Eyes Oak and Flamberge banned. I think Ash is going to go to 1, even though I'd like to see it banned, but then you kind of kill the deck. I think having these hits for Snake Eyes, I think is like just amazing. And honestly, just for good measure, I feel like you should just throw Popular in at 1 as well. I don't think Promethean's going to get hit. If anything, maybe they limit it, but it's also in Quarter Century Bonanza, so I don't think anything's gonna happen. Electromite's gonna stay banned. I don't see Electromite coming back anytime soon. Masquerena, I think it's time. I think it's really time. The fact that it can connect you to so many things. The more Link monsters we get, the better this card becomes. Like, it can connect you into Little Knight to do shenanigans. It can connect you into... It just connects you into everything. This needs to go. People want Apo banned. I don't think Apo is going to get banned. I think it's fine. Like, a 1600 Apollosa is not that hard to out. And if you have Sangan summoning up and you summon a Pydra, they can't even Apo the Pydra. And then you just go battle phase and you run it over. Like, most of the time it's 1600. Like, yeah, a 4 negate Apo is strong. I don't see anything happening. Runic Fountain, I think, is going to stay at 2, even though I'd like to see it go to 1. Pankratops could come back to 3. Pankratops is fine. Chicken Game is staying at 1. We are not dealing with FTKs. Why is Pot of Greed on here? I would love to see Pot of Greed come back. Like, Pot of Greed would be so insane. But there's no way that they could bring back Pot of Greed. Like, no. I think Konami would rather go touch grass. And then Heavy Storm. I think it'd be fun to see Heavy Storm come back, because it's been back in the OCG. I don't know if Konami's really going to pull the trigger on that. So, why not, you guys? We did 2-in-1. We reacted to Josh's video. It was fun. And then we also did a little ban list talk here. So, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and tomorrow we'll have a regular video up talking about the tins and stuff. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.